All right, so in terms of our asynchronous day, asynchronous days, students are required to log into your Brightspace course by 2 p.m. and teachers are required to take attendance by midnight. So I'm going to go into my Brightspace and I'm going to, open up my Brightspace course. And I'm going to go over just real quick, how are you actually going to see that your students are signed into your course? So with that, I'm in my Brightspace course and I want to find course admin. There is a option called class list. This class list is, it can be sorted by the last access date. It comes already sort of sorted. You can see that I can see the last days that my students have logged in, and I can sort it, and it will always, I can sort either so that the ones who haven't logged in are at the top or they're at the bottom, right? But here I can see that date and that timestamp, and this is the last time the student accessed your course. So what does that mean for you? If a student accesses your course at 3 p.m., they were supposed to access your course by 2 p.m. So if you put your attendance in at 2:30 and the student accesses your course at 3 p.m., then you marked them absent. You are not required necessarily to go back and mark them present. They needed to be in by 2 p.m. If you don't take your attendance until you're working on some things and you're getting some stuff done and you hop in, you're like, oh, it's 4:30, I'm going to do my attendance, and a student had logged in at 3, you are more than welcome to mark them as attended because they logged in before you did attendance. So I hope that sort of makes sense in terms of if a student is logging in by 2 p.m. and you're taking attendance at 2 p.m., they would be marked present. It's teacher discretion if you want to mark them present after 2 p.m. And before you are required to do attendance at midnight. But no one is asking you to log in at 10 p.m. and look to see who logged in after 2. And no one is asking you to log in at 3 p.m. if you did attendance at 2 p.m. Okay, but you take that how you will. I feel like I'll probably do attendance at like 4 at the end of what would be considered my school day. That seems reasonable to me. But the stipulations for us state students need to be logged in by 2. You need to put in attendance by midnight. Questions about attendance? I'm going to hop over to content and go just briefly touch on some ways you can set up content in terms of your Brightspace setup. So we highly recommend you create a unit called Virtual Instruction Day. Okay. Within that unit, you can put an HTML document that this says data vid. I would go in on the data of and put, 9:20 or 12:22, and students would know that that is their daily lesson. But right now, this is hidden. Students can't see it. All right. So in order to create that, I went to New Unit. And under the name, I put in Virtual Instruction Day. I also would recommend that you maybe add a little description that says, please complete the lesson below, with today's date. I don't know, however you want to say it. Right? But you can leave your students. You could also put a video note into here if you wanted. Video notes are actually really nice because they are accessible through all of your Brightspace classrooms. You don't have to re-record it and you don't have to import, export, or copy it. Your video notes can be accessed through any course. So this would be a really great place to use your video note tool, which would be, you could go to Insert Stuff, which I will show you that button again. This is your Insert Stuff button. It's got like a triangle, pause symbol, circle, and square. So you can insert stuff, and you can go to add video note. Now from here, it allows you, and I actually need to, oh good, you are seeing that pop out. Sometimes they don't always show when you do a tab. From here, you're able to not only just make a recording, but if you don't want to be on video, you can do audio only. Okay, so I could make a recording for my students that says, welcome to our, virtual instruction day. Below you will find, a link or an HTML document with today's date. Open that up. I can make a recording for my student. Open that up, complete the work, right? So I'm going to date it. We recommend using like a combination of your last name, VID, and the date. Okay, this will also make it very easy for you to find in your next class if you choose to do that. So I'll select my audio language and generate captions, and then I'm going to click next. And this will insert my audio recording directly into my Brightspace page. So when students come to this page, it will already be there. It has a big play button. They press play, they can listen to your sort of instructional video. So once you have that done, you can click save and close. And this is actually going to default to come all the way to the bottom of your course. So you'll want to drag it all the way to the top. That way, when you do make it live for students to see, it is the first thing that they see under content. Okay. So next would be adding the actual lesson material. All right. So starting from that unit that I made, I can go to create new and HTML document. The HTML document is just basically like a web page, a pre kind of build, you can add all the elements of the web page. So I'll give my name as the date of the vid. If it's the day of, I'll just put the date, or if not, I can do a placeholder with date of. And next I'm going to select, while you can make your own page, we as the office decided it would be really great if you had a template to choose from. So you can see here that you have both asynchronous and synchronous templates. All right, the asynchronous template, this is completely customizable and editable, right? So you can add your lesson title, your learning outcomes or ICANN statements, and then you can add your learning activities. If they have any extra learning resources, they're there, and then you have a link to get to the virtual teacher support, right? And here again, you can add that same video note if you want, or you can add another custom video note. Okay, if you wanted to add the same video note, you could go to insert stuff again, and then there's an option for search video note search. And you just leave the box blank and click search, and the first one that pops up will be the one that you had just recorded. Okay. So you don't have to worry about availability dates because this can stay hidden, and the whole unit is hidden. But really, this is where you could put in your, if you had any assignments, right? If you had quick links to assignments or any sort of third-party tools, right? Wixie, Discovery Education, McGraw-Hill, things like that can also be added from here. And yeah, so that's sort of where I wanted to hit for now. We do have some new things in here called practices and elements, but we're going to save those for a different day. So once I have this set up the way that I want it, I can do save and close. And what will happen is it will create a page right underneath my unit that, essentially outlines what that day would look like. So it's not a ton, but it is something to get you started. And while I know that that was probably a lot, and if I ask you if you need me to, if you have any questions, want me to repeat anything, you could say all of it. But barring repeating all of it, does anyone have any sort of questions about that setup or how you can set that up for your students?
I have a question. Sorry, I'm just turning my camera on now. So all of that can be hidden, right? Like we could post it all in here now, hide it, and then just when we're ready to post it, we take it off of hidden.
Yep.
And then you said it, but I'm just asking for clarification. It goes in the content, but it'll post onto the course homepage if we release it, or no, it just posts in the content.
It'll just post in the content, but I am about to talk about announcements, so I can show you how to actually make it. I can show you how to share it to your announcement.
Okay, because my question was the video that you said you can include. I was wondering if that could be posted, or can you post a video onto the homepage?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go over that literally right next. We're going to talk about announcements and using that same video note. Yes.
Hi, good morning. So my question is about the synchronous and asynchronous part of it. Can you show that again real quick?
The templates?
Yeah, I know you click on something that says synchronous or asynchronous. So
yes. So from do you know how to make the HTML document? How to get to this page?
Yes.
Okay. So I went to the unit and then I did create new HTML document. Over here, there's a button that says select template.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And then here you'll see asynchronous and synchronous. Now I should mention the synchronous one is a little bit different and it has already in there, it has your virtual day student schedules, right? And then if you want to remind them where to find your Google link or post your Google Meet code right here, you can. Other than that, it's pretty similar to what the asynchronous one looks like. It just has these links for students.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions that I could answer before we move on? All right. Well, I'm going to hop over to course home. And in our course home is where there was a question about announcements. And so, yes, everything we just put in content, we can put into the announcements. Okay, so depending on where your announcements fall on your homepage is going to be a little bit different. I keep mine right at the top. I can click my down caret and go to my announcements tool, or I can click on new announcements. Either of those doesn't necessarily matter. And I'm going to give it a headline, and I can give it my headline of virtual instruction day. If I want to, I could add I always use flags in my classroom for like really important announcements. And then here in this content area, I can do a couple things. One, I can post, if I wanted to post my whole lesson or my Google Meet link, I mean, I can do that here. Okay. With that video note, right? I recorded it in my content area. You could also have recorded it right from your content by clicking insert stuff, going and clicking add video note. If I already have one recorded, I can go do video note search it. And I have lots of these. So I can select the video note that I want if I'm going to be using the same video note, right? Or even if it's custom, right? And I'm posting it in multiple places. I can go to insert. And that video note is now appearing here. I can also use my quick links tool to actually link directly to my content page, right? I can go to content, virtual instruction day, and the date of the vid, and, add some verbiage like, click here for today's lesson. And add adding my little arrow. Right, so I can create that. Now, down here, if I just leave the date to, let's say today, the 21st, I can save as a draft. And now it's ready to go, but it's not actually posted yet, right? The status is draft. So it's not going to actually appear on my course homepage, not until it's published. So that would mean I could go in and I could publish that announcement or that announcement to my page on the day of. Now, announcements now have the ability to be copied to other courses, right? So you can, if you were just using an announcement, you could click this little caret next to the announcement and copy it to other courses, similar to assignments. Now, in my case, because I linked the content in there, I would want to make sure that that content is available in all of my courses, or that link wouldn't work, right? Because that content is unique to this course. But I am able to, if I just had, my video notes and a list of instructions, go to Discovery Education, click on the lesson called this and complete it. I mean, I could copy that to every class. That would be fine. So questions about copying your announcement or making your announcements, making your content. These are both options. You could just work in announcements. You could just work in content. It really depends on how your class is already set up and how comfortable your students are in Brightspace. I know with my students, I've used Brightspace quite a bit. And if I were to drop something in the announcements, they would probably miss it because they're so used to going into content to find to find lesson material. So I would be working out of content. But if I wasn't using Brightspace regularly and my students weren't really familiar with where to go, the announcements might be the best bet for them and where to find that information. All right, if there aren't any questions, we're gonna move over to our synchronous side. All right. So from that synchronous side, the nice thing about synchronous is, or nice thing, whatever. It all is what it is, right? But for synchronous, I think it is a little bit easier. The primary thing we need to have for synchronous is our Google Meet link. And then you are operating in Google Meet, right? So if you are just sharing your screen, then you'd be able to share your screen. There are tools in Google Meet that allow you to, ask poll questions and things like that. You can use Jamboard type activities. If you were teaching virtually, you might remember strategies like the waterfall, where you ask students to type their response in the chat box but not press enter. You give them a chance to write it down, and then you say, okay, everyone's going to press enter in 3, 2, 1, and everyone presses enter at the same time, and it kind of waterfalls in your chat. So using those strategies, because you do have students actually live. Now, let's talk about getting that Google Meet link into your course. So on the flow map, there is a link that's called Do That Now. And if you open it up, you should be seeing something like this. Now, this one puts your nav bar, or puts your link in the nav bar. That is what we are recommending you do. But if your school gives you guidance on putting it somewhere else, I would follow your school's guidance. The most important thing is that you are consistent. So the information coming out on the county will say, find the Google Meet link in the nav bar. Right? So I recommend putting it in the nav bar. All right, so looking at synchronous. So I'm going to recommend that you, and there is one thing you will need from this, this workflow, and that is the Google Meet lookup link, because this is what we're actually going to name your Google Meet. All right. So I don't click on the link in the chat, but this is the hyperlink you will need to actually create your meeting link, because what you're going to do is actually, this is where your nickname will go, where it's red. You'll type in, I would type in, BPMS McKenna 7, right? Or 22 or 22, 23, or whatever my meeting name is. That's where I would type it in. Now, we use nickname meetings because those can only be accessible by students and faculty that have AACPS accounts. So if your student is at home and logged into their parents' Gmail account, it's not going to work. But that also means you can't have random meeting crashers. So using the Meet link, the nickname Meet, is really important. It also means that a student cannot start that meeting. So you could leave this Google Meet up in all of your classes for the rest of the year, and unless you start it, it's not going to go anywhere for the students. Now, when you end your meeting link, you have to make sure that you end it for all. That's going to reset the meeting link, reset all the permissions, and make sure that you are the only one who can start it. That's why we're using the nickname meeting link. We don't just want to grab a random meeting link from the meet.com site. All right. The other thing you might want to click is you can download the icon. Right. And you'll want that Meet icon. So I'm going to give everyone just a second to download. So click on the link I dropped in the chat, or you can click on the one in the flow map. If you're not seeing the download the Meet, download the icon here, revisit the chat and get that link. You should be able to download that meeting link onto your desktop. And then we will upload it and we will create our navbar link. All right, hopefully you have your icon downloaded. It should have opened sort of in the bottom of your browser. So from ClassLink, we're going to go up on our navbar and click the 3 dots when we hover over it that says edit this navbar. If you've never edited your navbar, it's going to ask you if you want to work with a copy, and you're going to say yes, copy this navbar. From here, you should be seeing that now you have a class navigation icon-based or text-based, and it should say copy afterwards. Then you're going to go to add links, and you're going to create a custom link. This is where you're going to call it Google Meet. You're going to name it Google Meet. And the URL is where you're going to need to grab that meeting link, right? That nickname meet link that I dropped in the chat, and I can drop it again. You're going to drop that into the URL and change the your meeting nickname to literally your meeting nickname. So I use my last name, VID 2223. It could be, I work at Brooklyn Park, so it could have been Brooklyn Park McKenna 2223, McKenna Science. Now, once we've done that, if you scroll down, there's a place for the icon, and that's where you can just, if your icon is open, right, at the bottom of your web page, you can just click and drag it into the download icon, and it will download. If you are unable to see the save button, use Control- to zoom out until you see the create button. You could create, great. It will highlight it and you can click add. And then I can drag it and add it to my nav bar. I would click save and close. And what I should see is my nav bar now has that Google Meet link on it. But at this point, your Meet link has been added to your nav bar and you're ready to go. You'd repeat that process for each of your courses as needed. Like I said, it's there. It's only going to work for students if you open it. So if you put it there now, it's not like they can click on it, but it's probably worthwhile at least showing them that it exists at some point in the next couple weeks, so they know where it is. And if you need me to run through that again, I have a couple more minutes. I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, I appreciate you all joining me this morning. I know it's early and it's right before break, but thank you.